Hey, this is Jessie from Metal Wani. I'm here with former Queensryche and current Operation Mindcrime frontman, Geoff Tate. And how's it going today?
Yeah, today is going great. It's the first day I've talked about myself in a few weeks.
Hey, that's good. There's nothing wrong with that.
My publicist set up an interview date today, so I've done like 8 interviews.
Oh, man, so this is not your first rodeo today, then?
No, I have been on some bucking horses.
I can imagine. So you're heading towards the 4th decade of your career. Do you think you've reached your pinnacle of creativity yet, or is this just scratching the surface for you?
Wow. Let's get right to it, huh?
Jump right in there.
Wow. That was an interesting question. I'm heading towards my 4th decade. Yeah, that puts a little bit of soberness into the whole thing, doesn't it? Oh, no, I feel great. I feel very productive, and I love creating music, and I'm in the perfect job for me. You know, I love what I do, and I'm engaged with it almost daily. You know, of making music or working in a music-related project almost daily, except for the last few days, which I've just got off tour, so I'm actually staying away from it as much as I can. But while I was on tour, my wife sold our house and bought another one and moved everything in, and so I came home to a new house.
Surprise, eh?
Yeah, and all my stuff in boxes. So I've been unpacking boxes of my studio stuff and putting it in the studio and trying to decide where the speakers go and where this cable goes and how to hook this up. And,
so you need a few days in after tour to kind of just unwind and unpack things, man.
Well, I know I've been on tour since November.
Yeah, a few months.
Yeah.
It was
it's been crazy.
It was your acoustic tour, right?
Uh-huh.
Would you ever consider maybe releasing an acoustic album with some of the classics of Queensryche on CD or vinyl?
I suppose, yeah. I recorded all the shows, so I have numerous, nights to pick from. Great recordings and great performances. So, yeah, it's a possibility if I get to it, you know.
Exactly, step by step, right? Because I think fans would just love to hear that. And I think what I love most about acoustic shows is just how intimate the venue is, how personal it is, how you get to really connect with the audience. And actually, one of our team members had a chance to check it out in Baltimore, and he said you were telling a whole bunch of stories. Is this something you normally do, or is this just something because it was at an intimate venue?
Well, I was looking at my nearing my 4th decade and thinking about how to present this show, and because it was an intimate acoustic performance, and we were playing smaller venues, and it seemed to be appropriate to tell some stories, regarding the creation of the music, how it happened, or interesting little anecdotes that relate to the songs or the albums, and that kind of thing. Talking about my former bandmates and how they contributed to certain things, and just kind of what shaped what the audience was hearing, and it evolved into a pretty entertaining show. I think I know I had a really great time, and it pushed me into some new areas of performance that I hadn't ever really thought about or experienced before, and that mainly was the fact that I could hear the audience. When you're playing at 110 decibels of heavy metal music, you can't hear what anybody's saying.
No,
ever,
and you can only see a few rows ahead of you, right? So it's different when you get to actually see your fans and connect with them.
Exactly, and I would hear conversations that were happening, and be able to, switch gears and join in on their conversation. Pretty soon, we'd have some kind of dialogue going on that would lead to something else, and typically it would turn into sort of an interesting, either a comedic moment or something very heartfelt, and at times it was just crazy, really crazy with, dealing with drunk people. Which is always fun.
I can imagine. Oh man, yeah. Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, but it turned my performance into something quite different than it's ever been, and I truly enjoyed it, and I'm very thankful for everybody that came out to the shows and really helped shape the shape of the show. Each night it was very different each night.
Do you think you would do it again?
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat. Yeah, I am doing it again in Europe. I believe in December, January. I'm doing a whole series of acoustic shows in the countries I didn't make on this last tour.
Oh, perfect.
The hardest part about touring is getting everywhere. You know, people say, "Oh, you didn't come to Baltimore, or you didn't come to, Pasadena this year." Yeah, I just couldn't fit it in. But next year I'll, make a point to try to get there.
Let's chat about the final chapter of Operation Mindcrime's trilogy. What is the current status of this album?
It comes out in September. Looking forward to that.
I was going to ask that because your last two, The Key and Resurrection, came out in September. Do we have a release date yet?
I don't know if we have a release date. I know it's in September. I just don't know what the date is.
So have you decided on what third album will be called?
Yeah, but I'm not saying yet. I'm waiting for the big release.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Waiting on that build-up. I like it.
Yeah, got to build up everything nowadays.
You really do. You have to grab people, right? Hook them in.
You really do. You've got really one shot at it, so you got to make a big splash when you can.
Oh, for sure. So now the albums kind of tell a story, whether it's about virtual currencies, internet banking, stock trading. When did you come up with these ideas, and will the third album kind of follow suit?
A few years ago, I was, I've wanted to do a trilogy for a long time. I like the idea of telling a story in 3 acts because it's a kind of a traditional way of presenting a play, for example, and films are often done in 3 acts. So why not an album, or why not a story, a music story? So I've been wanting to do one for a while, and a couple years ago, my wife and I were hiking through Spain on the Camino de Santiago trail, and I'm about 2 weeks in, and there's a lot of downtime. Not downtime, but there's a lot of me time where you're just thinking. You're walking through this beautiful landscape, but you're walking. And that's all you're doing is walking and thinking. And I thought of the storyline and started writing it and started composing music while I was on the road. And when I got back to Seattle, I assembled a group of my musician friends, and we all got together and created 3 albums worth of music in one big, long recording session. And that's kind of how it happened. It was just one of those things where it's a brainstorm that happens, and you like it enough to be committed to it, and you start leaning in that direction, and before you know it, 3 years goes by.
Yeah, flies by. It really does. But I love the idea of a trilogy as well. I'm really stoked for the new album. Can't wait for it. So
Thank you.
You're an amazing vocalist. I really do hold you in high regards, and as a frontman, you kind of know firsthand you have to get the fans going. But with that can come with some backlash from time to time. And this has happened in with current Queensryche singer Todd La Torre. What do you think about the negativity towards him, and do you think that maybe fans have split?
I'm completely unaware of anything that's going on with him or them. I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe, do you like it that way better? They just kind of keep things separate and work on what you're doing?
It's just kind of worked out that way. It's not like I'm intentionally, keeping my head buried in the sand regarding them. It's just that we don't move in the same circles. We don't know the same people. We don't travel the same places. We don't go to the same restaurants. Never have, And so I just don't hear about it unless, you mentioned it today,
Yeah.
That's the first I've heard of anything like that.
It's kind of nice, too, right? You get to play with different musicians and different talents, and it grows a different sound as well, which is great.
Oh, my gosh, it's so liberating. I put together I put together a band from my European tour of fantastic musicians who are European musicians, right? Fantastic band, had a great tour, came to America, put together a completely different band of musicians, had a great tour. I'm going to South America this summer and playing with a South American band. Fantastic players, It's liberating to play with these great musicians and to have these relationships and hear their interpretation of my music. How would they play this? And I typically give people, lots of leeway to experiment with it. Well, here's the section, and I need a solo section here. Here's the solo that was written originally for the record, but listen to it and take the key moments, but make it your own. Let's do something interesting with it, and make it something that you believe in. Because I think it's important to give your musicians that ability to put their own passion into your music. Otherwise, they're just playing by the numbers, and that's...
Well, they're caged in, and you don't want that. You don't want to be fenced in. You want to kind of liberate yourself, which is great.
You do, and it makes them more connected to the music as well, and so that's the fun and the amazing thing that I've been experiencing, and I'm very, very grateful for it.
Now, the last two albums have featured guest appearances. Can we expect to see another for the third album?
Yeah, well, pretty much everybody that played on the first and second album are on the third album, too, because we recorded them all at the same time.
Excellent. Looking forward to it. Now, they do say never, but do you think you'll ever play with the other members from Queensryche again?
To do that would require everybody getting in the same room and actually confronting all the things that were said and all the things that happened. And that is a really big commitment, because there was some really negative stuff that went down. And I don't know if everybody has that kind of want to go through that,
Yeah.
The money would be the big driving force that would get everybody together. And, I don't need the money, so I'm not really motivated to sit in a room and listen to what I'd have to listen to,
exactly.
with everybody.
And you're growing already, and you're doing your own thing, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it is. But, again, never say never.
Now, so do you think your writing style has changed since your separation with Queensryche?
Writing style?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a style. I have a process of way of working that has been pretty constant throughout my career. So that hasn't changed. I always looked at music as experimental. It's there to play with and build things with,
Yeah.
You have a knowledge of music, and that gives you the ability to read a blueprint, and you can build things from these notes and this musical theory that you have, and so that's what I do. I experiment with music, and I put melodies together and chords together, and experiment with rhythm structures, and get it to where it feels good to me, where it moves me, and it's kind of what I've always done, So I don't know if it's changed so much. Working with the other guys, they weren't that kind of musician that directed the direction of the music. They would give you bits and pieces of things like, well, I've got this rhythm structure here. Can you do something with that? And I take the rhythm structure and add something else to it, add another part to it, and before long I had a song. It wasn't like they hand you a completed piece of music and go, here, let's record this.
Yeah.
Something like that. So a lot of what I do by myself, until I get with a producer. Like I've been working with my longtime producer, Kelly Gray, for a number of years, and he and I work really well together. When I get stuck on a part, I'll give it to him and say, well, I can't think of what to do past this. You have an idea, and he'll usually complete it. Or he'll screw it up so bad that I'll have to take it and rethink it through, and then I'll get it.
Yeah. You really need that connection with somebody, You really do.
Yeah. Because then sometimes we don't see eye to eye at all. He'll hand me something that I just listen to, and I go, I'm completely uninspired to work on this.
What were you thinking, man?
Really?
Yeah.
Because really, I love this. I appreciate the fact that you love it, but I don't love it. But then, like a year later, I'll listen to it back and go, oh my God, I have a great idea for this. And it'll become like my new favorite thing,
It's wild how that works.
It's so weird how that works, where, you're not in the mood. You don't hear it.
Yeah.
Or your mind changes. Like once I bought this Bowie album called Earthling,
mm-hmm.
and I bought it, and I listened to it, and I just did not like it. I just didn't relate to it, So I put it away. And about not a year later, a few months later, I'm in Paris, and I go to the Virgin Megastore there, and I'm walking around, and there's that album. And I put the headphones on, and I listen to it again. I love it. I buy a second copy, and it becomes an album that I listen to over and over again for like a month and a half.
It's so weird how that works. Sometimes you just kind of need time and then listen to it again. You're like, wow, Why did I not like this the first time? This is great.
Yeah, so I've learned not to have, such concrete judgments on music and on everything in life. Just, I think there's way too much judgment out there, because things change. It used to be, evil. It used to be wrong, forbidden, against the law to smoke marijuana, right? Well, I live in a state where it's legal now. You just go down to the store and buy it.
I live in Canada right now, and we're working on that too, so.
Yeah, so what changed? Well, people's minds changed,
Exactly. So I have one last question for you. Everybody always asks, what is next? What is next? So I'm going to follow suit. What do you think is next after Operation Mindcrime's trilogy?
For me? Well, I'm working on a new project right now with my daughter, Emily, actually, who's getting an album together of her first album. And she's working with Kieran Robertson, who's the guitar player that played in my band on this last tour. He's a really talented singer-songwriter from Scotland. In fact, they're in Scotland right now recording some of the album. And so I've been working with her and going to continue working the rest of the summer on her album. And I don't know what I'm going to do next on my own. If anything, I might give it a rest for a while and just continue touring and doing some projects with some other people. I'm doing some guest appearances over the summer with some different bands and artists in various places in Europe. So I don't really know yet musically where I'm going to go.
Play it by ear.
Yeah. I'm writing and stuff right now. I'm writing for Emily,
which is amazing. I love that.
Well, I do too. I'm having such a great time.
I can imagine.
She just amazes me. She discovered my record collection when she was very young, and she started with ABBA and went to Zappa, and just ingested the whole thing. And so her musical tastes are all over the place. The things she likes and things she writes. Really haunting, beautiful pieces of music, and also really just rough. I don't know how to describe it. Just razor sharp rock.
I love that. That's raw. Amazing. I like it. Yeah, you must be very proud. That's great.
So far, I'm very proud of her. She played on my American Soldier album, sang a song with me on that when she was like 8 or 9 years old, and she's really become a great singer. I really love her voice and listening to her sing. And just when you have a kid and they start doing what you're doing, you can't help but compare what they're doing to what you did or are doing now. So it's been kind of a weird thing for me to say. I say, well, why'd you go up to the fifth on that fourth progression there? Because it's odd to me, but to her, it sounds normal, and that just reiterates to me how personal music is for people. People, they have their own interpretations of music. Whether you're a writer or a listener, people interpret music differently, based, I think, on their life experiences and what they're going through at the time or what they went through, and they associate music with those parts of their life.
I 100% agree with that. We could listen to the same song, but both have different outcomes of it. And I think I love that about music.
Yeah, I love that too. And even lyrics, how people interpret what you write and what it means to them versus what you meant when you wrote it. And I love hearing those stories from people who, tell me about, my music and what it's meant to them, how it's affected them, and what the words mean. And listening to their interpretation is always really fascinating to me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really have enjoyed talking to you, and good luck with everything.
Well, thank you, Jessie. Pleasure talking with you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you as well, eh? All right.
I'm going to have lunch. This is my last interview.
Oh, perfect. All right, well, have fun and enjoy packing.
All right, thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye now.